Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hartz, and today I'll be breaking down the 10-game NBA slate we have here on DraftKings for Wednesday night. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe, turn that notification bell. My name is Hart, and I do daily slate breakdowns for the NBA and NFL here on DraftKings, where I talk over my favorite spin-up plays, mid-range options, and value plays, and then I go more in depth on my free Patreon, which will be linked down below. So let's get into the slate breakdown. As always, guys, make sure to follow me on Twitter at HartDFS. Check out my free Patreon link down below in the YouTube description, as well as here on my Linktree and on my Twitter. It's always pinned in my profile. I go over my favorite spin-up plays, my cores, the recaps, matchup spread, game totals, injury news, my slate thoughts, kind of thinking about how we should attack the slate, the pay-ups, building blocks, value plays, all that good stuff is in my free Patreon. If you also want to become a Patreon and follow me there, thank you for that. You don't have to. Once again, it's 100% free. But yeah, another frustrating night of DFS. Last night I was actually able to cash, which was nice. Tonight I'm kind of floating on the cusp of cashing. I have Derek White and Anthony Davis still left in the last game. But, the thing that killed everyone was that Suns game. They got blown out by the Rockets, and DeAndre Ayton left at halftime with 5 fantasy points, I think, or 8, something like that. It was horrendous. Mikal Bridges shot 4 of 23. Just super, super frustrating stuff the past 2 nights with all of the injuries over DFS the past 2 days. But, yeah, hopefully I should be able to cash once again 2 days in a row. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that, but it's looking like it's going to happen, which is wild. Nothing crazy, obviously, but it's just been a wild 2 days of DFS. So we got a nice 10-gamer for tomorrow. I'm expecting pure chaos, absolute insane injury news. I'm just sure it's going to happen with how the past 2 days have gone. Tomorrow expected to be pure chaos. So if you're playing, I'd say play light, because it's going to be insane with all the injury news, with people sitting out. We got 3 games starting at the same time. Half the games are going to be starting within the first 30 minutes. So expect a ton of injury news. It would be kind of good because they'll get a lot of it out of the way. But yeah, let's start off with Detroit versus Charlotte. So for Detroit, we know they're super short-handed still. Hayes is leading them in terms of salary price here at $6,600. Obviously a decent matchup here going against Charlotte. So I do think these Detroit guys are a little bit too cheap. If I was going to get to someone, it would be a Bogdan. As you can see, he's very, very score independent, but he's been shooting the ball great recently. A few games with almost 50 fantasy points, 46 versus Dallas, 50 versus Miami, and then 51 versus the Lakers. So he has that upside. You just really need him to shoot well. So not the best player there at this price point, but he's going to be kind of the leader of this Detroit team. Killian Hayes is there as well. Don't love the price point on him. If you're going to get to someone, I think my favorite price point is going to be Jaden Ivey, who has been kind of disappointing this year. Even without Cade Cunningham, you'd expect him to step up, and his minutes have kind of just been limited. I'm not really sure why. He's still shooting the ball a good amount, but yeah, he's not getting a ton of assists, not getting a ton of rebounds. So, I do think that price point's a little bit too cheap, but not like the best play. The other guys are there. Like Stewart should see close to 30 minutes, 5,400. He is like a double-double threat potential there. Sadiq Bey, he's probably been the second best behind Bogdan the past 2 weeks. He should see close to 30 minutes. He can get peripheral stats. It just comes down if he's hitting his shot, so he's a little bit too cheap there. Bagley should see, he should see about 20 to 25 minutes. His minutes are all over the place. 5,000. That's more of like a dart throw range now. Same thing with Burks. 24 minutes that last game. 17 before. You just don't feel great about that. Durant, 4,100. 20, mid-20s past 3 games. He got a few starts. He's a solid point per minute guy. It just, it really depends on the minutes. And if he's out there, he's obviously not going to be involved offensively a ton. But yeah, not a ton I like on this Detroit side, I guess, besides Ivy and Bogdan. And I guess you could take a shot on Bay, but yeah, everyone's minutes are just kind of all over the place. Not a lot of productivity from that Detroit side. Rather get to, the guys on the Charlotte side. Great matchup for them. Rozier's price hasn't changed. We know what we're going to get from him. Minutes are there. Shot attempts are there. It just comes down to if he's hitting a shot. If he is, he should get you at least mid-40s fantasy points. He has the upside for more, so 8,000, don't mind him as a spend up, or I guess it's kind of a spend up, but just more of a higher salary play on your lineup. Oubre 7,400. You don't love that price, but I mean he does have some decent upside. I think he looks like an okay play at that price point. Plumlee 6,100. Now that he's that price, he just looks kind of okay. Not really going on my way to play him there. PJ, I think he looks the best price point wise, 5,500. There's some games where he can go out there, as you can see, 35 minutes, 2 of 12, 17.5 fantasy points, only 4 real life points. I mean, he has a very, very low floor. He also has a pretty high ceiling if he's playing well. So I think he'd be my favorite play there at 5,500 on this side. McDaniels, he's either, a 12 fantasy point guy or a 30. Just depends on the night. Don't really think it's necessary to, play him there at 5,100. And then the rest of the team, Richards is going to get that backup center run. Theo should see about 15-ish minutes off the bench. But yeah, I mean, they're running their starters a ton of minutes. So I think the best play would be PJ Washington there at 5,500. Atlanta versus Orlando. Trae Young questionable at 10-2 with a back injury. Obviously, if he's out like he was, or not was. Actually, he was out that last game. Who did they play again? Versus Memphis. Yeah, Trae Young was out. So we'll see if he's back. It's big news because if he's out, you're going to want to load up on these, Hawks value guys. I'm assuming he'll be back. We'll have to see. But 10-2, it does make for a very solid price tag for Trae Young as a spend-up play. He just hasn't been really that great this year, but I don't mind getting to him as more of like a contrarian spend-up. Capella, 6,700. More of like an okay price, Don't love it, don't hate it. The rest of the team, Adrian Griffin, 5,400. Just looks okay, Even when he's getting the shot attempts and the minutes, it just seems like he's really doing nothing. So if you want to take a shot and hope he hits his shots, you can go there. DeAndre Hunter actually looks decent. Don't look at the Memphis game. He did play in it, and he was kind of the leading scorer, and then obviously the game blew out, and so he just sat the rest of the game. He should see, I guess mid-30s in a competitive game here. So 5,300, he does feel a little bit too cheap. As being kind of like the secondary scorer with DeJounte Murray still out and John Collins. Expect Hunter to shoot the ball a good amount. And then obviously Bogdanovich, he's been their best player the past 2 games. I expect him to be super popular once again. He should see mid-30s minutes. He's going to shoot the ball a ton, as we can see the past 2 games. So 5,000. Do think he makes for almost a lock for tomorrow once again. Rest of the team, I really want to get to anyone else. Jalen Johnson, if he draws a start, he looks okay. But I mean, it's really, I just say stick to, all these guys are priced up now in regards to, Trae Young being out that past game. So if Trae Young's in, everyone's a little bit too pricey here for this side besides Bogdan, Hunter, and then I guess Trae Young. I'm Orlando. Paulo, decent, 7,700. Don't mind him. Franz, kind of there. Wagner, a little bit too pricey for me, even though he does have some upside. Bol. All these guys just kind of look okay. Nothing really stands out to me besides the guards of Cole Anthony, who should see about close to 30 minutes, and a guy like Markelle Fultz, who's been dealing with injury. He's been very up and down recently, but I think the 2 guards are the ones who intrigue me the most there. Obama saw 23 minutes. I guess he's a solid point per minute guy, but yeah, not a ton of interest in that Orlando side. Golden State and Indiana, Golden State's playing tonight, so maybe they're going to rest guys on a back-to-back. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. So Steph, 11,000, solid spin-up play. Poole, he's already priced up because I think DraftKings thinks that they're going to rest Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Obviously, if they do, Poole at that price tag, not like a must play, but he still makes for a great play. Obviously the guys like the Kumingas, the Loonies, or the Kumingas, DiVincenzos, Lambs, Moody's, Greens, they'd all become great values there if the main starters get ruled out. But if the main starters are in, the only guys that really stand out to me probably are going to be maybe Clay. Everyone they just really raised the prices for all these guys. And so it's like if the starters don't play, or if the starters do play, then it's like there's no value. But if the starters don't play, then we'll have to go over the value in my write-up for tomorrow. For the Indiana side, Halliburton, don't even get me started. I mean, 0 of 9. Like, thank God I didn't play him on my DraftKings lineup, but I picked his prize picks prop. 0 of 9 in 33 minutes. 1 point. 1 point. That is insane. It's insane, but I like buying low on him. I don't know what happened this game. A fluke, because you can see he's been the point god all season. So yeah, I like buying low on Halliburton. Price hasn't moved. Hopefully that scares people off, especially if the starters are out. Halliburton should feast. So I do really like him a good amount. Turner finally had a good game after a few bad games. Only shot it 9 times, but still had a very solid double-double game with a few good blocks. So he looks decent. Rest of the team, Buddy Hield's kind of priced up. Matherin's more of a tournament option there. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Smith's fallen all the way down to 4,100, but he's not really seen the minutes. They're giving it to a guy like Neesmith, whose minutes have bumped up. He's done a little bit better, but I still don't trust him. He's still not the best. But 3,900, you can't really complain there. Brissett's seen about 15-ish minutes. So, yeah, it's really just Halliburton for me or Turner. For the Knicks, Randall has been, I guess, amazing the past few weeks. So if you want to ride that hot streak against a Chicago team that should give up a ton of points to him, you can definitely do that. Barrett came up to 7,000 after 2 straight really good games from him. I'd prefer getting to Brunson if he's going to play. He is questionable, but if he's good to go, Io's not going to be much of a match for him. Either will Caruso. So I do really like Brunson there at 6,800. Quickly is priced up in case Brunson is out. If Brunson is out, Quickly at 5,300 should see at least 30 minutes. I think he'd be a great play there. Robinson feels a little bit too cheap here. Should see closer to 30 minutes. With Vooch being a bigger guy, Robinson should at least see 25 minutes. Hopefully stays out of foul trouble. Hopefully he does. He makes for an interesting tournament play there at 5,200. Grimes is priced up to 4,900. You don't really love that. I mean, he's going to see about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more, maybe less, depending on how he's playing and if he's in foul trouble. Cam Reddish kind of falling out of the rotation, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just the top guys. McBride's been seen 20 minutes. Some of those games have been blowouts, so don't really trust that. Hartenstein will get the backup center run, but yeah, I mean, it's really just kind of another team that runs their starters into the ground. For Chicago, we know the offense is going to most likely flow through DeMar. He's been the leader the past few games and pretty much the whole season. So 8,400, not the best price tag, but he still has upside. Prefer getting into Zach or Vooch. Zach is obviously the riskiest of the bunch, but he does have a huge ceiling. And then Vooch, more of the most consistent, I'd say, and just in terms of at least getting 30 fantasy points. Now, he does have the upside into the 50s if he's doing very well. So don't mind him there at 7,200. Pat Williams makes for a very solid value play here at 3,800. He's been seeing consistent minutes. Should see at least 30. I'm going to get some shot attempts, some rebounds, blocks, and steals. So I think he'd be my favorite play on the Bulls. Kobe White is there. Now he's very, very boom or bust. Now you can't expect 31 minutes from him. There's games where he'll get only 15, even if they are low on guards. So yeah, I mean, he looks like an okay value play. Caruso, if he's back, you should see, mid-20s. He looks like an okay value play. I'd still prefer getting to Pat Williams as a value play out of all those guys. Dragic could see close to 20 if, Caruso's out. Io is questionable. So the value for the Bulls is going to be, Pat Williams and then one of these guards, depending on who's in and who's out. If they're all in, I'd say Caruso would be my favorite, and that's really it. Moving on to Sacramento and Toronto. Sabonis 9-6 coming off of a game tonight, so don't think they'll rest him. Fox is, so Sabonis looks decent here against Toronto. Fox, his price has fallen all the way down to 8,200. He's been terrible, as you can see tonight, 20.5 fantasy points. So if you want to buy low on him, he's a perfect candidate because he's been terrible the past 2 weeks, but don't love him in this matchup. Herter, just a tournament option there. Barnes, it just no one really sticks out to me besides maybe a Malik Monk as a tournament option, even though he's been very bad recently. Keegan Murray's super scoring dependent. You can look to him at some value, but otherwise, yeah, there's just not a ton that stands out. I mean, Herter, Monk, Fox, bonus, really that's it. Toronto side, Pascal's all the way up to 10.5. I mean, he's been great this year, but feels a little bit too high to get to Pascal there. Fred came up to 7,500 after a few decent games. Gary Trent will start with OG still out. Scotty's just been bad. It's just one of those teams where no one really sticks out for me on this Toronto side. Herman Gomez should be back. He'll probably, get close to maybe 15 minutes. He'd be an okay value play. That's really it. They're going to give Pascal, Van Fleet, Scotty, Gary Trent a ton of run. They'll slide in one of these random bigs as like a center and play him like 15 minutes. So, yeah, not a lot of interest in this Toronto side as of right now. Maybe a Van Fleet or Siakam. Moving on to Miami. Jimmy is out, so really like the Miami guys. We know the offense is going to go through Bam, and it's going to go through Tyler Hero, and they're both should be good to go. Not the best price tags at 8,100 and 8,300, but still a little bit too cheap for the amount of usage and the amount of offense they're going to have to carry. Kyle Lowry looks very solid too at 6,500. He'd probably be my favorite play just because of his price tag. He should look to shoot more, get more involved offensively. Strus 5,000 looks like a good tournament option. Everyone else is kind of there. We will see. Where is he? Victor Oladipo should see about 20-ish to 25 minutes. You can take a shot on him, but really, I think you should really only look at a guy like, Strus, Lowry, and then Tyler and Bam. Moving on to OKC, SGA 10,000 coming off a 42-point game. Looks like he's back in form, so do like him here. He should be able to feast against Tyler Hero or Kyle Lowry defense. This game should be able to stay close. Josh Giddey, just kind of there. Not the best price tag for him. Lou Dort's price does look a little bit appealing here, 5,000. 34. He's scoring dependent, or I guess not scoring dependent, or I guess scoring dependent in terms of you really need him to hit a shot. Like he will get some rebounds and assists, but if he's not hitting his shot, which he pretty much hasn't done all season, he's not really going to pay off for your lineup. But 5,000, don't mind taking a shot on him. And then the rest of the team, it's just really just a crapshoot. Poku has upside. It's just the minutes haven't been there. Williams is going to be your safest bet, an option, but his upside is limited. Jerry's out. Kendrick Williams is out. So, they saw Isaiah Joe randomly is seeing more minutes recently. He's been productive. So, you can go to him as a value play. Baisley should see close to 20 minutes. He'd be a decent value play there as well. So I guess there's just some cheap value plays, but they're all super risky on the OKC side. Portland and San Antonio. Dame has been shooting the ball very, very well recently. 12 of 22. Obviously not that bad, or not that good against Minnesota, but still 36 points, 38 points versus Minnesota. So 3 straight games of 35 or more points. So if you want to go to him here against the Spurs, don't mind it. The rest of the team, they're kind of a little bit too pricey for me. Simon's 7,900 with Dame there. Don't love that. Jeremy Grant, 7,500. It's just, everyone seems a little bit too pricey if you're going to get to them. Josh Hart, if he plays, looks okay. Winslow is going to be the best option if you want a piece that's going to be like a cheap value option there at 4,200. But the rest of the team, Eubanks is going to see that backup starter run, or center run, excuse me. Yeah, it's really just Winslow and Eubanks for me is the interest, unless you want to get to a Dame. On the Spurs side, Keldon, Vassell, they're going to run the offense, lead the team. Prefer getting to Vassell. He's been a little bit cheaper, but he still has the same upside as Keldon. Podol is still out, so we'll get Zach Collins, who is questionable, or looks like he's doubtful. So that means we're going to get Chalk Bassey for this game, who should start. He's a solid point per minute guy. He's pretty foul prone. Not sure if Nurk will get him in foul trouble, but there's always that always that risk. Bates Diop is questionable. A lot of questionable guys on this Spurs side. So I really like Vassell. I do like Bassey a good amount. And then don't be surprised if they slide like Isaiah Roby maybe starts. I think they signed Elise Johnson, or they waived him, excuse me. So yeah, it looks like, they won't be afraid to throw like Isaiah Roby, Jeremy Sohan, Bates Diop all into like the power forward center spot. So don't expect like huge minutes from Bassey. I'd say maybe 25 is the safest we can kind of expect. He can get you there in that amount of time, but do expect him to throw other people there to kind of take over the power forward and center. But yeah, I do think Bassey's a little bit too cheap for at least 25 minutes. That really does it for the Spurs. We'll have to wait on the power forward news, because I do like whatever power forward they're going to be playing, and even the guy off the bench. For Cleveland, we have Donovan Mitchell, 8,900. I mean, he's been great when it comes to scoring the ball. He's going to be the leader. So if you want to get some, don't mind it. I do like the price in Garland, but he's been god awful. He was better last game, but supposedly he has an injury on his hand. Not really sure where or what or when. He kind of randomly brought it up in the press conference after the game, but he'd be my favorite play on this Cavs side. Everyone else looks like okay. Kevin Love, always a tournament option, 4,100. Only saw 14 minutes versus the Spurs. I think he'd still be my favorite play. I guess that is pretty cheap for Kevin Love, who should see, most of the time, he should see close to 20 minutes around that mark. Hasn't seen it in a little bit just because he's hurt his thumb, been in some foul trouble. So do like taking a shot on Kevin Love in this situation. That's really it. Maybe a Garland. Moving on to Dallas. Luka, obviously we know what we're going to get from Luka. Dinwiddie actually had a solid game last game, even with Luka back. But still, I think his price point is a little bit too high. Would rather get to a Christian Wood off the bench. He should be able to feast against the Cavs backups, the secondary run. But yeah, I mean, nothing really sticks out. Hardaway Jr. still has, decent upside. He's been playing well recently. And then the bigs, I mean, DFS is there. Kleber is going to be there. It's just, you don't really feel great going to any of these bigs. We'd rather get to like Spurs value than these guys. So yeah, not a ton of interest on Dallas. Moving on to Washington and Denver. Porzingis is questionable with the back injury. He left the last game versus Brooklyn. He was actually doing well because of that back, so definitely keep that in mind. He's questionable. If he's out, Kuzma at 9,000 doesn't look great. I mean, he should have a ton of usage, but he doesn't look great there. Beal is questionable if he's back. Just a bunch of news. We kind of have to wait to see what happens with this in order to kind of go over the best plays. So wait for my write-up for tomorrow for that. But I guess quickly we can, if they're all in, no real interest in anyone on this side. If Porzingis and Beal are out, Kuzma looks solid as a spend-up option, I guess. Don't love it. Denny would have to shoulder more of the load. Same with Goodwin. Morris, Barton had a solid game last game. Don't think you can trust that. 22-7-7. That's like prime Barton. But he'd be an option. We'd get like Gafford. Maybe he slides into starting position. He'd be a solid point per minute guy. I'd like him more than Bassey. But yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out on that Washington news. For Denver, Jokic 11-8. Looks solid. Should be able to feast. Coming off a huge game there, 80.5 fantasy points versus Utah. We'd love to target Utah's bigs with other bigs that are good. Murray looks solid, 7,200. He's been good recently. That's really it. It's not a lot of other plays on the side I like. It's just kind of going to be going through Jokic and Murray. Moving on to the last game, Minnesota. We know Anthony Edwards is going to be the leader of the team. Hasn't been great, shooting the ball. 9,200, just an okay price. Gobert, his price is coming up. He's had 4 straight good games. Looks okay. I mean, LAC does play small at times, so maybe Gobert gets limited. D'Lo's questionable. We'll have to see if he plays. If he's out, we can look to a Noel or a McLaughlin kind of filling in. We will see a guy like Kyle Anderson kind of take over a little bit more of like the ball handling role for that first team. But yeah, I think my favorite play would be Kyle Anderson or a Noel here. Noel is pretty score independent, but he should see at least mid-20s minutes. I mean, that's really it. Don't think it's a dip down to anyone. It's pretty much just Noel, Anderson. If Russell's out, if Russell's in, he looks okay. No one really sticks out to me on that side. And then moving on to the Clippers, we have, Paul George, who's been pretty solid the past few games. 9,500 minutes limit is off. So he's more of a contrarian spin-up play. Kawhi is still on a minutes limit. He had a very, very solid game last game. He could still get you there in about 30 minutes, especially in this matchup here, 6,900. If you think he's found something, don't mind, taking a shot on him, even though he does have that minutes limit still. And then the rest of the team, they're kind of there. Zubac has fallen all the way down to 5,300. Maybe he should see some more minutes with Gobert, on the other side. So I do like Zubac a good amount here, 5,300. We know he does have some good upside, even alongside Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So yeah, he'd be my favorite play. That's really it. I mean, Batum as the value plays all the way up to 4,800. Don't love that. Reggie Jackson. I mean, everyone else is kind of just there. No real standouts because of Paul George and Kawhi kind of leading the team in usage. Yeah, that's going to do the slate breakdown for today, guys. So if you guys like the video, hit the like button and subscribe. Check out my free Patreon link down below, where I'll go more in depth in my slate write up of like what my value plays are going to be, what my core building blocks are going to be, all that good stuff. Once we get more news, I'll have a write up out tomorrow, probably by 1 or 2 Eastern, and then we can kind of go from there. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.